Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Daily Marvel Snap video. So with the recent changes to Zabu, we know that everyone had started exploring him in a Mr. Negative build, but what I haven't seen anybody really pushing for or exploring is a Spectrum ongoing Destroyer deck list. Now I tried this in a couple of different shells, but this one has felt the most phenomenal. So this is very close to the Spectrum Destroyer hybrid build that was very popular a few seasons ago. And now that the meta is kind of in a stale state where it's not incredibly founded, there's a lot of experimentation going on, this deck list is back and it's better than ever. By being able to add in a couple of 4-cost cards because of Zabu, Zabu also being an ongoing card to get the benefit from Spectrum, it fits into that perfect curve that we're looking for. Whether we end up going with the Spectrum or the Destroyer play path, it helps us out immensely. A turn 3 Warpath is great. A turn 3 Omega Red or Warpath into Omega Red on 4 into a Professor X lockdown, that is going to be very difficult for them to beat and overcome, and your Omega Red will likely start pushing a power into those other lanes as well. So overall, the deck list runs just the same as it would otherwise. You want to curve out your cards, typically stacking them in 1 or 2 lanes, while looking out for how your in-game path is going to go. If you have your Destroyer, you want to make sure that you have an ideal lane to play him in. If you have your Spectrum, the same thing. You want to make sure that she has a lane that's not blocked by Cosmo, that's not fully capped out, that she's able to be dropped into to add value and buff up the rest of your cards. All right, first up we have Justo, and in our starting hand we do have our Zabu, which is beautiful. That helps with our curve. It's not necessary, but it is pretty helpful whenever we get it. Icebox hits our armor, which is not great. But I do think we still play Zabu. We're going to compete for the Sacred Timeline for now. We may pivot that eventually. Since they have the Sunspot that can continue to grow over time, maybe we actually shift away. We could do Omega Red into the middle. On turn 4, we can do, if we draw into our Warpath, we can do that. If we don't, then we could do Captain America, we could do Armor, we could do a couple of different things into a Professor X lock. And then if we are able to lock in that win by 10, then we can guarantee that we will keep our advantage. I think we're actually just going to use Crossbones here. We got it from the hub, but it's going to be more raw power. And so then next turn when we lock this down, we won't get as big of a benefit if we go with the Spectrum path. But if we don't go with the Spectrum path, we are absolutely fine. And so they're running a Thanos list, which Thanos is very strong right now. He is like all over the meta. So he is just he's a force to be reckoned with. Oh, that stinks. So because Reality Stone changed the miniaturized lab, changed the last location into the miniaturized lab, they rotated their cards in with Lockjaw and they actually couldn't pull anything else back out. And so they just wasted, they just sent some resources back into their deck. That is unfortunate, my friend. So we are going to go with the Professor X lockdown. That is going to lock in. You cannot arrow us. I am so sorry, my friend. That is going to lock in the 4 extra bonus from our Omega Red. We don't have our Spectrum this game, but we do have Destroyer. So they have 11 power to the left. They have 10 power to the right. And either way that we go it's going to be 15 power on our last turn play. I think we're going to go to the left. If I was them, cycling cards is just too valuable if we have big resources. That's our read and we're sticking to it. So they rotate 1 card, the Soul Stone. Interesting. And so then they're going to let their Sunspot absorb some extra energy. The Blue Marvel is a huge flip, and that might be enough to let them absorb some extra energy after our Zabu dies. It is not quite enough. Because of the Omega Red, we won off of the Omega Red factor. I was a little bit uncertain of if that should even be included because it's very specific to the Zabu style of this build. But that was beautiful. We will take those 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we are going against the Gerald of Galactus. The first location is Crimson Cosmos, which is fine for this list. We have plenty of cards that go up over that 3 cost. The middle location is Monster Island. Not as I mean, it doesn't hurt us any. We can actually stack that lane early. If we end up going with an Iron Man, we can really help elevate it. Or we're going to protect it with armor, so then we can always use our Destroyer if we draw into it so at some other point. Now, they are running a Morbius. We know at some point they'll likely be playing a MODOK. So I'm going to go ahead and play a Captain America into middle. Next turn, maybe we play Omega Red to the right, and then Iron Man in mid. I don't know. Ooh, the Lockjaw. So this could be the Lockjaw rotation. We have the Professor X, which is big. We can do Omega Red, we can do Professor X, and then we can do a Spectrum on the last turn to buff up all of our ongoing cards quite a bit. And I think it'll mitigate their big power push. And they do play Dracula over to the left, so I'm glad that we went with playing over to the right instead. Let's go ahead and lock in the Professor X lane. This will probably end in a 1-cube retreat, so we're going to snap early. We're pretty confident if they hit a really good rotation here, but knowing the archetype, typically they don't want to rotate until they have their ideal hand or their free swarms to rotate. And so knowing that, I think we can lock in the Lockjaw lane before they get their good triggers. And so we do lock in the Professor X. They do get their discard off. And so the Blade, the too many cards, they have a couple of swarms. They didn't have the Apocalypse, which is interesting to note. We could do Spectrum. So is Spectrum going to be worthwhile? Spectrum is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 power in this lane. And it's going to be 4 extra power in this one, which with the 4, it would put us up to that limit to get the +4 in the other locations. So that means plus a 13 in this lane. Or we could just go with the flat plus 15. If it comes down to a tie in this location, then it would have been better to go the other route. Now, we're losing this lane by 10 already. They have 2 swarms and an America Chavez. So 9 more power in mid, 11 more power in mid is going to put them to 38. This puts us up to 32. That's if they play their Chavez into the Monster Island lane. I think they probably just get 5 more power here to go up to 32. No, we're out of time. Oh no. We're going to tie in the middle location. Oy. Oy, no. Oy vey. No, we win. We win by 1. Oh my gosh, my math was wrong. I was having the hardest time mathing there. No, my math was right. I forgot to calculate in the Captain America +1. That bumping us up to 16 was what gave us the tiebreaker, which was what was enough to allow us to win. Super close game, especially for not allowing them to rotate any cards. Had they been able to freely rotate in the Lockjaw lane, they would have had that one, no questions asked. All right, next up we have Justo again. I can't remember if it was in this video or one of the other ones that I recorded, but Justo is running a Thanos list. And so we know that the stones are going to be here. We know that there's a lot of uncertainty with the Thanos list. We get the really good value of the Zabu into the Onslaught Citadel. So our Omega Red is going to be 2 cost. If we can guarantee that that one wins, that's going to be +8 power to the left and the right lane, which is massive. So I think we get some incredible value. And since they're running Thanos and they haven't played anything the first 2 turns, maybe they're waiting to be able to play their Lockjaw and then start rotating. But since they haven't played anything, I'm going to go ahead and snap. I think we're in a decent spot. We don't have the best hand by any means, but them skipping on turn 2, especially with a Thanos list, does make me think that we might have a shot to steal it away. They do have their Lockjaw, and so that's what they were waiting for, was being able to rotate with their Lockjaw. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and play Cosmo into the middle location so that all of the stones that they play there, their Space Stone, to be able to move their Lockjaw out of this lane, their Time Stone, their Mind Stone, they're not going to get the benefit from that on reveal, which is just huge. We're gonna go ahead and counter their stones with the Cosmo and the Sunspot. I expect a couple of stones here as well. Ooh, Thanos is a big one. The Soul Stone, they don't get to draw off of that, so that's good. And it flips into Chavez. Wow, this is a huge flip, man. Oh man, into the armor. Oh boy, that is one good rotation. I don't know what else they have in their hand, but that rotation was beautiful. So because this lane is capped out, they can't move this lane. I'm going to play Iron Man into mid. We're going to try to push for the +8 to the left and to the right. I think that's going to give us the most bang for our buck, the best value. If they can make Thanos an extra +10, then, I mean, even that will just put them to 32. We won't get the +8 to the left and right, but we'll still get a lot of value. Actually, we could still get the +8 to the left and right because of Spectrum. Let's go with Spectrum. Let's go with Spectrum. That'll be 5 here, 2 here. Do we think they can push anything massive? Maybe. They could also have a Magneto, which could pull these cards around and just really disrupt what we want to do. We're gonna hope that they don't, though. So they do just play 1 card over into the Dark Dimension. Blue Marvel. Okay, that one's pretty big. Blue Marvel is big. The Magneto is what I called Do we still have enough to win in the left? We do, but not in the middle. Oh my gosh, so close. If we had just a little bit more, we would have won. All right, next up we have Sinilin. The first location is the Dark Dimension. We could hide some cards there if we wanted to, and then eventually buff them all with Spectrum. We're going to start that play line just because we don't know what the other two locations are. I don't want to play it into a location that turned out to be the Space Throne. That would be an instant retreat. We're going to play our Zabu. We don't have anything that benefits from it, but he does get the +2 after we play the Spectrum, which is phenomenal. We now have something that benefits from it in the Omega Red. I don't know if we win the right lane by more than 10, though. It does look like they're running a Destroy package, so probably a Death Wave style deck. That's the most common for Bucky Barnes. The Hood aligns with that. The Iceman, not so much, but I think it's okay otherwise. We can do the Captain America to the right. We could even then, on turn 5, lock them out of the Shadowland, potentially, and then all into a Spectrum buff in the left-hand lane. They do push in the Kiln pretty hard. They have their Demon. They have the Green Goblin that sends our way. So we lose this location by 1 right now. But we do have the Spectrum bonus that will come down. So I think we're okay. I think we are still in a very, very good spot. We'll go ahead and snap back. We're going to lock them into the Shadowland. We have an extra +4 that will come that way after the Spectrum triggers. And so I think we should be perfectly fine. They use the Carnage, but it's not going to be able to destroy anything. We lock them into a -1 power in Shadowland, and we're going to be able to push an extra +4 over into the Kiln, which should be the way that we win. Since we had initiative going to that last turn, we do get our Spectrum to trigger before their Cosmo counter. And so they win in the left lane, we win in middle and right, and we will take in the 8 cubes. That could have been a bot. The avatar is very bot-like. The name is kind of suspicious. We will take it. We'll take our 8 cubes where we can. It still shows a decent idea of the playline. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Gap. The first location is the Lechugia, so we're going to avoid that like the plague. We are going to play into an unknown location. I try to avoid it because you never know what the outcome is going to be, but sometimes you don't want to. Playing into the Lechugia early is just awful, especially if they end up having something like a Hawk deck. So they do play a Zabu as well. I say we push into Westview until we figure out what they're running. I think we're just going to kind of spread our power out a little bit. We're still going to avoid the Lechugia. If we have Professor X on 5 and it's a completely empty lane, then we're going to try to sneak that one in. They run a Mr. Negative, so they could have the inverted Iron Man. They could have Mystique. They could have a Shuri, a Wong, a Black Panther. They could have a lot of really, really big play lines. And we could do Cosmo this turn, but I like holding Cosmo as a counter. So if they play a Wong here, then we are, as soon as we see that, we're going to play Cosmo into mid. Ooh, so they ramp up with a Psylocke. They can do a 6-cost drop this turn. There's no way that they are running a Mr. Negative Galactus deck, is there? I mean, they could be. We have both of our finishers in our hand already. It's never ideal to do a Cosmo as your turn 5 drop. I would much rather double up on our power here. I am a little bit afraid of the negative Galactus playline. So we're going to do Cosmo to the left, and that is where we're hoping to see their drops. So they do play 2 cards over there. One is Magic. They're not going to be able to extend the game. One is Jubilee. They're not going to be able to pull a card like they wanted to. Wow. Oh my gosh. We will take it. We can now do the Destroyer into the left lane. We are winning in the middle and the far right lane already. And so they're going to have to swing all 3 locations. We could also do a Spectrum in one of the lanes. I think I like this idea or play line a little bit better. That is one of their inverted cards. And so they only have whatever card they top decked this turn as an inverted card, and then whatever else they had in their hand. So they play 3 cards, 2 over to the left, 1 over to the right. The Iron Man, in the Lechugia, hurts us quite a bit. The Mystique copies it in the right lane, so we definitely lose that location. What is this last card in the Lechugia? Is it more? It is Bast, so it is not enough. Barely, but it is not enough to swing that game, swing that location. Mr. Negative being back in the meta is kind of scary, but you can mitigate a lot of their upside from locking down locations, locking down on reveals with Cosmo. We got very, very fortunate that we were able to block some key plays and barely squeeze out the win. we are going to go ahead and end the video after that one. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.